So you may be asking, what makes a Disney princess? Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. Disney has no idea. Oh, but Katie, isn't there official criteria for that? No. There are articles that claim that there's specific criteria for what designates a Disney princess. There's even official criteria listed on the Wikipedia page for Disney princesses, but the citation is just some Screen Rant article where someone is going off of vibes. So none of this comes directly from the mouse's mouth. This caused a dilemma for me. You see, I wanted to figure out which of the Disney princesses was the best. Why? For science. Also nostalgia, but mostly for science. But in order to create a definitive scientific ranking of Disney princesses, you need criteria to test them against. The problem is, for every rule you can come up with, there's a princess that breaks one. So what can we take from the ones that we have? There are 13 official Disney princesses. Snow White, Cinderella, Aurora, Ariel, Belle, Jasmine, Pocahontas, Mulan, Tiana, Rapunzel, Merida, Moana, and Raya. You may notice that Elsa and Anna are not included in this list. There's no confirmed reason as to why, but the leading theory is that Frozen is so popular on its own that it can operate outside of the so-called Pink Void universe. Name for the, Pink Void. So this becomes our main indicator of what makes a Disney princess. Marketability. You see, I think this is bullshit. What about the magic? People have been lied to about what makes a Disney princess. A lie through omission. We all just assumed there was a reason why Mulan, someone who is clearly not a princess, was included, right? We just assumed there was some magical criteria she fit into, but no. So today, I have decided to determine what makes a Disney princess and who is the most Disney princessy of them all. For science. Why me? Well, you see, I went to Harvard's gift shop and bought this little patch to put on my lab coat that I got from Amazon, which makes me as much as an authority on the topic as the person who wrote the Screen Rant article. This is a scientific analysis and ranking of the official Disney princesses. I've determined 5 categories from which to rank these Disney princesses, some of which you may have seen before and some of which I thought was crucial to the Disney princess vibe. First of all, of course, overall princess qualities. Okay, are they a good role model? Would you want a child to look up to this person? Next, we got the I Want song. This is a song that sets up the conflict for the princess and becomes their theme song of sorts. I will also give points for other songs in the movies, but this will not subtract from the category. These movies just have some real bangers. Then we have animal friends. Were they helpful or would they have been better off roasted on a spit? Then we have their spiritual guide, the person, place, or tree that helps the princess on their journey, giving them a boost when they most need it and helping them find their ultimate destiny. That sounds so dramatic. Then we have overall quality of movie. You can be a great princess, but that doesn't matter if your movie is ass. I'm going to try to be unnecessarily deep in my analysis, because otherwise where's the fun? These categories will all be ranked out of 5 with their total points out of 25. And for fun, I'm going to include the direct-to-video sequels, because some of us were Disney Vault kids who watched Mulan 2 before the original Mulan. Not me, of course. My parents bought all of my Disney VHSs from a completely legit vendor in a flea market in New Jersey. I'll include a ranking both with and without the sequels, to be fair. So without further ado, let's get on to our first Disney princess. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is Disney's first feature-length film and one of the first animated feature-length films of all time. You know the drill. Snow White has a wicked stepmother who hates her because she's beautiful and better than her. She's also a 14-year-old girl, so get a hobby. Anyway, she does the whole mirror thing, and the mirror is like, nah, bitch, you ugly now. You gotta compete with this 14-year-old girl. Logically, her next course of action is to send a huntsman after Snow White to kill her and bring back her heart. But he can't do it, because again, this girl is 14. She's literally helping a baby bird get back into its nest. It'd be like killing a puppy. Or, a literal child. The huntsman tells her to run and hide in the woods, where she finds a cabin that houses the titular Seven Dwarfs, and her evil stepmother learns she is alive. She disguises herself as an old crone, and this is the part where I have to pause and ask, couldn't she have just used a spell to make herself better? She had an ugly spell, but not a pretty spell. Fix her personality while she was at it. Anyway, she also has a spell to make a poisoned apple, when she could just maybe used cyanide? I need to stop trying to apply logic. It's actually a very cute movie. There's also a talking mirror, so I'll just shut up. Alright, home stretch. Snow White eats the apple, falls asleep, and after the dwarves chase her off, the stepmother falls off a cliff and dies.
The dwarves give Snow White a spring funeral where the prince finds her, kisses her, she wakes up, and they live happily ever after.
So, how is Snow White as a role model? You know, she gets cast aside a lot because she represents more antiquated, ideal feminine traits because she does domestic labor instead of like STEM or something. But that's just an oversimplified view. Although I will say, Snow White did get me to clean my room as a child. I'd pop in my VHS, watch the movie, and then while it rewound, I would clean my room. And then I'd watch it over again. And my parents never thought to get me tested for something. Beyond that, this poor girl was told that her stepmother was trying to have her killed, so she goes running off into the woods by herself at 14, and as terrifying as everything in the scene was, she makes the most of it. She leads with kindness, and she's honestly pretty witty and fun. I don't think she gets enough credit. So, 4.5 out of 5. Not a huge fan of a 14-year-old getting married, no matter the time period. Her I Want song, I guess she technically has two, I'm Wishing and Someday My Prince Will Come, which are basically the same premise. She wants a prince to come and find her. It's pretty, but not very poignant. 3 out of 5.
Animal friends. Absolutely clutch animal friends. They help her find a house. They help her clean. They instantly knew something was up with the witch offering her an apple and go get help. These animals were ready to throw hands and paws and wings. Also hooves.
Do deer have hooves? Yeah, 5 out of 5. Spiritual guide, she doesn't have one, but she really feels like the only princess who doesn't need one. Her spirit doesn't need guidance. Our girl is just trying not to die while making friends along the way. Overall, the movie is slow at times, but they use a lot of these slower moments to show off the animation and just make the movie a fun time. It's whimsical, God, just remember whimsy. Good story, fun movie, 4 out of 5. Putting Snow White at an overall 16.5 out of 25. We all know the story of Cinderella, right? Her evil stepmother and stepsisters make Cinderella serve them as a maid after her father dies. One day, all the noblewomen in the kingdom get invited to a ball. A fairy godmother appears for Cinderella and gives her a gown and a carriage that will disappear at midnight. She meets the prince, and they dance and talk all night until she has to run away at midnight. She loses her glass slipper.
The prince uses it to find her, and they live happily ever after.
And in the Disney version, she's friends with mice that talk and birds that don't talk. Cinderella gets a bad rap because she's the quintessential damsel in distress who needs a prince to save her. But when was the last time you watched this movie? Cinderella isn't the typical damsel in distress who's just resigned to her fate. Okay, maybe a bit, but not like how you're thinking. She talks back. She still gets in snide comments about her sisters. When the invitation for the ball arrives, she very defiantly says that the wording on it means that she can come to the ball. People want more proactive protagonists in their stories, and I do get that, but Cinderella is doing what she can to make the most out of the situation. I think stories like these are important for capturing moments in history and making us more empathetic towards characters like Cinderella. This takes place in 18th or 19th century France, like there weren't many options for women. Her only way out of that situation was marriage. Maybe finding another job at a different house, or worse. I think culturally we've just come to victim blame Cinderella. She lived in an abusive household. There are some truly evil Disney villains, but the scene where the stepsisters start ripping up Cinderella's dress before the ball is kind of terrifying. I'd cry too. These women were completely controlling her life, and yet, as a society, we're like, alright, Cindy, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Come on, get up. Yeah, that's not how it works. This may seem deep for a children's movie, but these movies and our attitudes towards them shape how children think. That's something to be mindful of. So for this reason, I'm giving Cinderella a 4 out of 5. She's dealt a tough hand and carries on the best she can. She's stubborn and resilient, and she does actually do what she can to elevate herself. Her I Want song is A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes, and God, I hope not. I've had some weird dreams. 2.5 out of 5. Then we got the animal friends, our boys the talking mice, and some silent birds. Jacques, Gus, and Mary are the mice that get names, but they're all ready to kick ass for her. They make her a dress so she can go to the ball. They help her with her chores, kind of. They're her only friends. Oh, and they steal the key from the stepmother when she locks Cinderella in her room, but I'm pretty sure they killed the cat. Anyway, these are 5 out of 5 little guys. Spiritual guide, the fairy godmother, just more of a miracle worker, but our girl really needed it. Maybe she could have given her more time at the ball, but these stories run on magical limitations, so 3 out of 5. Overall, I give this movie a 4 out of 5. I had to do other things while watching it, and I really wanted to keep watching even though societally this plot is ingrained into us like we wrote it. That puts Cinderella at an 18.5 out of 25, just above Snow White. That's right, there's a second Cinderella. We're getting into those direct-to-video specials, and Cinderella 2 is the epitome of direct-to-video. Worse animation, stories that can apply to anything else and still be the same, and songs that feel like they were picked out of a clearance bin. This movie is just a collection of stories that the mice are retelling because they wanted to make Cinderella a book of their adventures in the castle so far. The first one is about her first week in the castle, where she's left to plan a ball by herself with only the help of a frigid old woman who keeps telling her how things should be done. But Cinderella girl bosses her way to the top and plans a ball her way. This story also taught me what ecru was. It's white. In the second one, Jack wants to help out Cinderella, but him being a mouse makes that hard, so he asks the fairy godmother to turn him into a human. He still sucks at helping, but then saves the day by turning back into a mouse because the king is stuck on a runaway elephant at the carnival they threw, and as we all know, elephants are afraid of mice. I guess. The last one is actually a fun story, and they should have just made the entire movie about this. The stepmother and stepsisters are invited to a ball at the castle because Cinderella is better than I am. Also, damn, these people throw a lot of parties. While buying clothing to prepare, Anastasia, the redhead stepsister, wanders into a bakery and her and the baker have a love at first sight moment. The stepmother thinks the baker is beneath them and won't let her go to the ball with him, but Cinderella sees all of this and decides to give Anastasia a makeover. Through hijinks, the two find each other and she defies her mother by going to the ball with him. Cinderella throughout this movie, same thing, 4 out of 5. She's kind but stubborn and gets things done. Honestly, this girl is just rolling with the punches. Also, she's voiced by Jennifer Hale, who is a very famous voice actor that I most notably know through Commander Shepard from Mass Effect.
She messed with my hamster, guys. Now it's personal.
This won't impact her score, but maybe it should. We call that range.
Go for the eyes.
Songs, there's only like generic 2000s pop songs about what's happening, but I gave some points for the club remix of Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo during the end credits. 1.5 out of 5. Animal Friends, you know they're still the best animal friends a princess can ask for, just too many hijinks this time, 4 out of 5. Spiritual Guide, I mean, she's there, 2 out of 5. Overall, it's a 2.5 out of 5 kind of movie. It's just a collection of stories, but I loved it as a kid and I had a good time now. This movie kind of sets the baseline for the direct-to-video sequels, but not for the next one. Adding it all up, Cinderella 2 is at a 14 out of 25. Yes, there's a third Cinderella. Of course there's a third Cinderella, and it's better than it has any right to be. It takes place a year after the first one, with the prince and Cinderella celebrating their anniversary. Meanwhile, her stepmother and stepsisters have been miserable in doing all the chores. Anastasia happens to wonder upon Cinderella and the prince celebrating their anniversary, along with her fairy godmother. She instantly realizes that Cinderella has everything because of the magic wand and is able to steal it. We are only 5 minutes in, folks. She takes it back to her family, and while the fairy godmother does try to get her wand back, she gets turned into a statue. The stepmother seizes the opportunity and decides to reverse time to when they were trying on the glass slippers so that one of her daughters would marry the prince instead. Of course, Anastasia's feet are way too big, but no, they aren't because they have magic now. They march off to the castle, but not before the evil stepmother destroys all of Cinderella's hopes and dreams once again. Now, our girl is sad because she's lost the life she thought was more than a dream, that's the song she sings here, but realizes the prince would have to recognize her, right? Obviously, this isn't Bridgerton where Benedict spends a whole season not knowing the woman he loves is clearly Asian. The prince instantly realizes this is not the woman he danced with all night and politely asks them to leave. But boom, magicked again. The stepmother makes him think it was Anastasia he danced with at the ball. I love it when characters realize that magic can do anything you want it to. None of this shit is expiring at midnight. At this point, Cinderella has snuck into the castle with the help of a wheel of cheese, and her and the mice split up to look for the prince. Jacques and Gus find the prince before she does and see the evil stepmother put the prince under a spell. Cinderella runs into the prince and he doesn't recognize her, which is just a momentary setback since the mice then explain to Cinderella that the stepmother has stolen her fairy godmother's wand and that the prince is under a spell. They do not rely on dramatic irony, and I love it. And we aren't even halfway through the movie. There is so much plot. Okay, now, our girl knows what's up, so her and the mice hatch a plan to steal the wand back, which involves stealing another key from the stepmother, which, as we all know, our boys are good at, and almost killing the cat, which our boys are also good at. Cinderella goes into the room pretending to be housekeeping to cause a diversion while the mice break into where the wand is hidden. The stepmother unmasks Cinderella, but it's too late. The mice have the wand, so they all run away to find the prince. Before Cinderella can break the spell, though, the guards catch up with her and she is banished from the kingdom. But the prince is suspicious. You see, they brushed hands, which made his two brain cells rub together, so now he thinks there may be something going on. The mice use this opportunity to lure the prince away and explain to him what's going on. Luckily, he is completely on board with the idea of talking mice and singing mice because they explain everything that has happened to him in song that I now realize has been stuck in my head for the last 20 years. He accepts all of this at face value and runs to rescue Cinderella. Very dramatically, might I add. I love this. The two reunite and it breaks the spell. The movie ends with the two planning their wedding and they all live happily ever. What do you mean there's 30 minutes left in this movie? Okay, Cinderella is getting dressed for her wedding when the evil stepmother appears with Anastasia, magically disguised to look like Cinderella. She sends Cinderella and her ride-or-die mouse on the carriage ride from hell, which would make a really good ride at Disney World, I'm just saying. But our girl has seen some shit today, so this is nothing. She escapes the carriage, grabs the horse, and is on her way to the castle to stop her wedding. Or save her, but she's going to the castle. No one is ready for two Cinderellas on the premises. The stepmother jumps in to stop her, but at this point Anastasia has grown a conscience, which is a whole other subplot there's no time to discuss, so she actually tries to stop her mother here. A kerfuffle ensues, and through the help of reflective objects, the stepmother and Drusilla, that's the other one, are banished and turned into frogs. Anastasia changes back, they free the fairy godmother who tells them that she can send them back to their original timeline, which they had no idea about, so they all live happily ever after. And according to the credits, Anastasia ends up with the baker guy from the second movie. I had to go in depth for this one because, what the hell? I love this movie. Cinderella outdoes herself in this one. I know I said that I hate how we get on Cinderella for not rising up against her family, and that is exactly what happens in this one, but it makes sense. She has nothing to lose, and logically you'd think the prince would recognize her, so why wouldn't she try to find him? She's still kind and resilient with some extra toughness. 5 out of 5. Also, she's still voiced by Commander Shepard in this one, so clearly it's starting to rub off.
I'm Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite
Direct-to-video sequel?
on the Citadel.
The I Want song is the More Than a Dream one I mentioned. It's fine, but I gotta add some bonus points for the At the Ball song that the mice sing to the prince. God, it's good. 3 out of 5. Animal friends, come on, you know these are the best animal friends in the business. They refuse to quit. 5 out of 5. Spiritual guide, unfortunately, 1 out of 5, seeing as she spends the entire movie as a rock. Overall, you know what? 4 out of 5. A little goofy at times, but holy crap, they did not phone this one in. I love that it doesn't follow the, oh no, what's happening, why is everyone acting weird crap. They immediately find out that the stepmother has the wand and spring into action, but they're thwarted at every turn realistically and have to fight their way through. The prince actually has a personality in this one. That personality is Himbo.
I can't even talk. He speaks my language.
No, the bluebirds weren't talking.
I know this is lampshading, but somebody had to say it.
Actually, him and Cinderella really do suit each other. They're both people who can roll with the punches and adapt quickly. He even adapts himself out a window at one point. Gosh, I love this movie. My grandma bought it for me on DVD one day at Toys R Us, along with the Polly Pocket cruise ship, so it is a core memory of my childhood. Overall, 18 out of 25, bringing Cinderella's average to a 16.83 out of 25. Sleeping Beauty came out in 1959 and features our third princess, Aurora. Like Cinderella, Aurora often gets a bad rap. She doesn't have a lot of speaking lines and she spends a third of the movie asleep. She's not exactly what people would call a feminist icon. Not to mention the original Sleeping Beauty was troublesome, to say the least. We'll get to that later. But I don't think this movie should be written off completely. Basic plot summary with some rants. Aurora's parents host a party to celebrate her birth, and 3 fairies, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather, arrive to give her magical blessing gifts. An evil fairy, Maleficent, crashes the party, incensed that she wasn't invited, and curses Aurora to die after pricking her finger on a spindle by sunset on her 16th birthday. Luckily, Merryweather hasn't given her gift yet and alters the curse so that Aurora will instead fall asleep and only be woken up by true love's kiss. You know the drill.
This curse comes true, but she is woken up by Prince Philip and they live happily ever after.
Okay, why would they not just magically protect her? Oh, Maleficent's magic is too powerful. Is it? Why are they limited to 1 gift each? Like, if they were the 3 wise men, I'd get it, like you can only bring so much myrrh, but magic is not exactly a limited resource. Clearly it isn't a power issue because she could alter the curse just fine.
Yes, I know this is a fairy tale, but as a woman of science and someone who had just experienced the amazing magical economy of Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time, I felt the need to criticize.
So Aurora herself, honestly she's fine. She just isn't really the main character in the movie. Not a feminist icon or whatever, but there's plenty of other women in this movie who are good characters. She's an accurate 16-year-old girl, and I don't blame her for her classic Disney princess cry session. She's isolated from society, meets one man, falls in love, is told, no, you can't marry him because you're actually a princess, and we've kept you hidden from your family, and we won't explain to you why. Dumbass. I mean, I'd cry too. What a shitty birthday. Yeah, 2.5 out of 5 here. She's there. She's trying. Her I Want song is fine. It's called I Wonder. It's pretty but not poignant. She wants true love. Slight boost from Once Upon a Dream, which is adapted from the Garland Waltz in Tchaikovsky's Sleeping Beauty ballet. That's a good song.
3.5 out of 5.
For animal friends, she has various generic woodland creatures, but honestly, if it wasn't for these animals, she'd be screwed, because Merryweather just had to specify that true love's kiss would break the spell instead of, literally anything else. Could have been a hearty handshake. If it weren't for these animals, she never would have met Philip, so yeah, 3 out of 5. Moral guides. Okay, clearly these women love her, but honestly, a rock would have been a better spiritual guide. I get why they weren't like the wise men, because there was not a wise man among them. These were the dumbest 3 women, oh my god. The fairies decide that the best course of action is to raise Aurora in the woods hidden from Maleficent, and the fact that this girl didn't die is a miracle. They don't use their magic in case it attracts Maleficent, but they're clearly inept without it, so on her 16th birthday, hours before the curse will break, they decide why not mess up our 16-year-long plan by using magic now. Who has been cooking? Who has been making these girls' dresses? At least this explains why this poor girl doesn't have shoes. So many dumb decisions, but they helped Philip save her in the end, so 2 out of 5 at least. Overall rating for the movie? Honestly, I was conflicted because there's a lot of plot points which didn't exactly make sense to me. Also, this is a fairy tale, so theoretically there should have been a moral. I mean, I love a good nap, but what the hell is this? So I did some research, and I regret it. So I heard all the original fairy tales were darker, but in all of the original ones, she's cursed, she falls asleep, she gets assaulted, and then she's woken up, typically because of the children she had because of the assault. What the fuck? I've seen claims that she wakes up because of the pain of childbirth. She does not. It is typically because one of her children sucked the flax out of her finger. That is how she was cursed in the original ones. Listen, we gotta give this girl something. I've also seen people say, why did Disney take this fairy tale of all of them and adapt it for kids? But it wasn't Disney. Originally, fairy tales were meant as entertainment for adults, but a Frenchman, Charles Perrault, adapted it as a story for children. Fun fact, in Perrault's version, the prince doesn't even kiss her. His presence just causes her to wake up, and then they talk for hours because they just vibe. And the moral is, wait for love. It'll come. Cool.
I get why they left out some parts when adapting, but
the plot just felt weird when I was watching, Merryweather altering the curse and Maleficent being so bent out of shape about not being invited. but they cut out some of the other details, like there were actually 7 fairies, and it wasn't so much that Maleficent wasn't invited, because the only reason she wasn't invited is because she was isolated and no one knew she existed, but they also had a crappy gift for her compared to the other fairies. There was also this scene at the end that felt stupid, so in character for our fairies, but still weird.
When Aurora falls asleep, they decide to just put everyone else to sleep until she wakes up so no one will find out she was ever asleep.
Like, way to avoid consequences and also kill any chances of someone finding and kissing her, you dumbasses. But in the original, they put everyone else asleep so she won't be lonely when she wakes up. Cool. Also, this movie felt a bit slow at times, and I thought there's gotta be more plot in this fairy tale, right? And there was, and I understand why they didn't adapt it. You see, the original story had a second part where the prince had an evil stepmother who was literally an ogre who wanted to eat Sleeping Beauty and their kids. So overall plot oddities are explained, and while not an amazing story, honestly, this movie is just gorgeous. Walt Disney wanted the scenes to look like a moving tapestry, and it looks amazing. 3.5 out of 5. It's just whimsical. Guys, remember whimsy? Overall points for Aurora, 14.5 out of 25.
After 30 long years that I was not alive during, Disney finally returned to their classic princess stories with The Little Mermaid.
Quickfire summary: Ariel is the youngest of 7 daughters, and their father is the king of the sea, Triton. They all sing and stuff, but Ariel likes to explore shipwrecks and find human artifacts. Triton doesn't trust humans, so he destroys all of her artifacts and forbids her from collecting them. But of course, teenage rebellion ensues, and one day she saves a sailor from drowning and falls in love with him. She makes a deal with an evil sea witch named Ursula to trade her tail in for legs if she gives up her voice. She transforms and has 3 days to make the sailor, who is of course a prince, fall in love and kiss her. There's antics, age-appropriate peril, some close calls, but in the end, Ariel and Eric defeat Ursula and get married with Triton's blessing.
Tired of doing the happily ever after thing? You get the gist.
Ariel herself is a fun character. I love how curious she is and how she has this weird special interest. I can relate. She's strong and overall a decent role model. Okay, there's this Tumblr post that goes around occasionally saying that Ariel at her heart is an anthropologist, right? She studies humans. This post points out that at the beginning of the movie, she risked being eaten by a shark to go back for the stuff she had collected. The argument being made here is that we've seen Ariel risk her safety for her passion, which sets up why she would give up her voice to join the human world. And I can respect that. The scene serves the purpose of showing us just how much she loves the human world. It's just, she gives up her voice. I mean, I know in the original it feels like she's walking on shards of glass when she has her legs, but that would honestly make this a little better. But her voice, that's more than safety, man. I mean, she's giving up her power. And we can say that it's for the human world and her passion all we want, but Prince Eric is the main trigger here. Highest I can give her is a 3 out of 5. Now, there's some of you who may want me to go even lower because, Katie, why didn't she just write down what she wanted to say? Do you guys think the fish is literate? Her I Want song is part of your world. I mean, what can I say? The song is great. 5 out of 5. Special shout out to Under the Sea and Kiss the Girl. This movie has a great soundtrack. Animal friends, Flounder and Scuttle, I mean, they're there for moral support. Scuttle gives her misinformation about the object she finds, and I'm sure Flounder would taste very good. Shout out to the animals that helped along the way. 3 out of 5. The misinformation reminds me, honestly, it may be a good thing she gave up her voice. Could you imagine if she was just like, ooh, you're quite adept with the snarf blap. Moral guide, Sebastian, great moral guide and great character all around. He makes a mistake in the beginning by leading Triton to Ariel's human treasure trove, but he makes up for it all. He rolls with the punches and gets this girl what she wants while doing his best to protect her. Plus, what a great wingman. Again, kiss the girl, come on. Man's just like, hey, she mute, but she cute. What a guy, 4.5 out of 5. The movie itself is a fun time. The visuals are so colorful and distinct. Not the most poignant story, but still a good movie. 3.5 out of 5. Tally it up, and this puts Ariel at a 19 out of 25. Have you ever wanted to see The Little Mermaid but the other way around? Well, you're in for a treat. In The Little Mermaid 2: Return to the Sea, Ariel and Eric now have a daughter named Melody, who unfortunately is being hunted by Ursula's sister, who is basically Ursula on Ozempic.
Calling her Ursula, 'cause she's worse.
Ariel tries to protect her daughter from the ocean, but uh-oh, that's Ariel's daughter we're talking about here, and she wants to be a part of that world.
So Ursula gives her a tail and tricks her into stealing Triton's trident for her.
That's it. That's the plot. It's like the first one, but she's younger, so instead of a love interest, she has to be saved by her mom. And her two animal friends who shouldn't be able to breathe underwater can for some reasons. Oh, fun fact, Melody is voiced by Tara Strong,
AKA Dill Pickles.
aka Timmy Turner, aka many others. Despite being about Melody, this is still Ariel's movie. Role model-wise, honestly, she's pretty good in this. She's a good mom. She realizes she's made a mistake not telling Melody about her connection to the sea and admits to it, so 3.5 out of 5. The song, there's one about Melody and all. Honestly, all the songs were uninspired. I did not like them. The exact wording in my notes were, "These songs suck." 1.5 out of 5. Animal friends. Flounder's a dad now, and he does try to help. Scuttle is also there. They are both. Well, they are there, 2.5 out of 5. Spiritual guide. Yeah, Sebastian has really fallen on his sword in his old age. Definitely hamming it up, 2.5 out of 5. Overall, I mean, honestly, it is an enjoyable movie. I do like it. There's just not a lot to say. 3.5 out of 5. That puts The Little Human, that's what they should have called it, at a 13 out of 25. That's right, another trilogy, and this time we got ourselves a prequel. Cool. We start off with some dramatic backstory of how Ariel's mother was crushed by a ship and died, so real cheery way to start off. Ariel's mother liked to sing, and now no one is allowed to play music in the kingdom. Ariel finds a secret nightclub where Sebastian and other fish play music in secret. Eventually, Ariel and Sebastian bring music back to the kingdom. It's basically Footloose, but they ain't got feet. Ariel is the same in this one. She's brave, but she doesn't follow curfew, so 3.5 out of 5 role model. Songs, they're nice, but ultimately forgettable. I literally forgot there was music in this movie at first because they played this song over and over again. 2 out of 5. Animal friends, Flounder is here, and you know what? He is better, but mostly because they just retconned his character. 2.5 out of 5. Moral guide, Sebastian honestly did well here. He really stuck his neck out for Ariel, and he brought music back to the kingdom. And by music, I just mean this one song. 4 out of 5. Overall for this movie, though, 1 out of 5. They really could have done anything else. We don't even establish Ariel liking human things. It's very meh. Sebastian is the only high point. Also, this music box is a very large part of the plot, and they didn't even try to make it good. This is the most terrifying but ugly use of CGI I've ever seen. This was actually the last of Disney's direct-to-video movies that came out of Disney Toon Studios, which is a shame because, well, this movie sucked. It came 1 year after Cinderella 3, which didn't suck. Really the end of an era.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Adding it all up, we get a 12.5 out of 25, which brings Ariel's average to a 14.83 out of 25. Stockholm Syndrome the movie. We all know Beauty and the Beast. Belle's imprisoned by a beast in exchange for her father's freedom. This beast was cursed to live this way by a witch who he pissed off when he was like 11, so he's bitter. I would also be mad. He has to have someone fall in love with him before his 21st birthday or else he'll be like this forever. Him and Belle fall in love, he turns back into a human, the end. Belle is the most unique Disney princess so far. She seems more mature, she's very strong. Once she makes a decision, she sticks with it. It's all very admirable. She goes through a lot in this movie. A lot of people talk about the Stockholm Syndrome of it all, and yeah, I don't want to know how many girls got the I can fix him trait knocked into them from this movie, but no one talks about how terrible Gaston is. I hadn't seen this movie in a while. I forgot that after Belle rejects his proposal, Gaston's grand plan is to threaten to throw her father into an asylum to blackmail her into marrying him. So she's got slim pickings. Nonetheless, this movie does a really good job of making you think these two should be together, right? They sing a song about it. But still,
He attacked her. I interpret this as an attack. Jeez. Yes, I know the point of the story is that the beast changes, and they do a good job of showing him change rather than her adapting to him. But if any of my friends were attacked by their partners like this, I would tell them to leave.
The most I can give her is a 3.5 out of 5. Her I Want song is just called Belle. This song is great. We break it out at every karaoke session, and you better believe I sing all of the parts. 5 out of 5. This movie has some of the best songs that Disney has to offer. Animal Friends, kind of lacking. This horse is cool. His name's Philippe. Also, this footrest is a dog, so 2 out of 5. Spiritual guide, or in this case, guides, Lumiere, Cogsworth, and Mrs. Potts. I think they're spiritual guides, right? They guide both of them. Sure, they're a bit self-serving, seeing as they want to be human again, but they treat her well and certainly don't force her to be there, unlike other people. Mrs. Potts is a real one. I wish my spiritual guide was also a teapot. 3.5 out of 5. Overall movie, 4.5 out of 5. I'd rate it higher if the romance was less problematic, but I will say I'm a huge Beauty and the Beast apologist. This is such a good movie, and God, is it gorgeous. The animation is also historical. The technology that went into the dance scene here to create the dolly zoom with the camera is incredible. Also, I know the Be Our Guest scene is famous, but people still don't talk about it enough. It's infectious. I seriously can't help but to smile whenever I watch this scene. I mean, look at this, they got the candlestick to do line kicks. I honestly wish Walt Disney was still alive when this came out because this man was obsessed with animatronics, and you know we would have gotten an immersive Be Our Guest experience at Disney World. The plates would be singing and dancing. We were so close to greatness. The Little Mermaid started the Disney Renaissance, but it wouldn't exist if it wasn't for this movie. Add it all up, and Belle is at an 18 out of 25. This was the most unnecessary sequel I have ever seen. Basically, everyone is reminiscing about the first Christmas they had at the castle with Belle, which happened during the montage section of the first movie, I guess. Apparently, Belle is really into Christmas. Like, this is seemingly a defining personality trait for her. At one point, she sings that Christmas is stronger than the strongest love you'll ever know. I'm sorry. What? Oh, you think your parents love you? That's nothing compared to Christmas. She's trying to decorate the castle for Christmas, but the Beast hates Christmas because evidently Christmas was the day he was cursed. He basically turned Mary away from the inn. The villain in this one is this freaky ass CGI organ who is voiced by Tim Curry. He apparently really likes being an organ because he has more power. He's using this opportunity to turn Belle and the Beast against one another. So the Beast just up and kills this man.
Hooray, they saved Christmas.
Alright, Belle in this one is kind of dumb. She makes bad choices, and I don't know why she loves Christmas so much. 2.5 out of 5. The songs have nice melodies, but shit lyrics like Christmas is stronger than the strongest love you'll ever know, and as long as there's Christmas, we'll all be just fine. 2 out of 5. Animal Friends, the same. Philippe is there. 2 out of 5.
Spiritual guides, also fine, 3 out of 5. Overall, this is the most could have been an email movie I have ever seen. 1 out of 5. So 10.5 out of 25 total.
Our worst movie so far. So this was meant to be a TV show, so I'm not doing it. You can't make me, it looks like shit. Fucking Aladdin, man, God. This may be Disney's best movie. Okay, I know it's got steep competition, it's got great music, the story's great, Robin Williams is iconic. Like, I have so many questions for what Recording Friend Like Me was like because he just went off. Anyway, Aladdin is about, get this, a guy named Aladdin who is poor, and he wants people to see him for more than his status in life, but he thinks the only way he can do that is by having status. He meets Princess Jasmine, who tries to escape her fate of marrying a prince she doesn't want to. The two hit it off, but alas, Aladdin is a commoner. After the palace guards capture him, the king's vizier Jafar has Aladdin steal a magic lamp from a mysterious tiger cave. This is how he meets Robin Williams, the genie, who will grant him 3 wishes. He uses the first wish to become a prince so he can marry Jasmine, but in his first life lesson, he learns being a prince won't win her heart. But you know what does? Soaring, tumbling, freewheeling even, through an endless diamond sky. Jafar had planned to marry Jasmine so he could become sultan, so through a series of events he steals the lamp so he can use the genie's power for evil. Aladdin tricks him into wishing that he was a genie, which comes with imprisonment. Aladdin uses his last wish to free the genie rather than to marry Jasmine because he's a good guy, but then the sultan is like, wait a minute, we don't have a Congress, I make the laws, and allows Jasmine to marry whoever she wants. And they live happily ever after, except for the 2 other movies and a TV show. When I went to go rate this one, I had a bit of a problem. Jasmine checks very few of the boxes. She does have an animal friend, but she doesn't have a spiritual guide. She doesn't even have an I Want song. I don't think you can count A Whole New World here. But, you know who does check all the boxes? Aladdin. Yes, I think Aladdin should swap places with Jasmine as a Disney princess. But Katie, you might be saying, isn't that woke? Well, firstly, shut up, and secondly, no actually, no it's not. See, there's this little thing called historical precedent, and according to history, in medieval Poland, a young woman named Jadwiga was crowned king of her country. Not queen, king. So if a woman can become king in medieval Poland, I think Aladdin can be a princess. I rest my case. I'm not even joking, he checks all the princess boxes. Role model? Come on, what a good guy. He shows a lot of growth, comes to realize his value as a person, takes accountability for his actions, is ultimately selfless, and saves the genie. 5 out of 5. Songs, One Jump Ahead is an I Want song. It has that moment after a brief interlude where he looks out at the palace longingly and talks about his aspirations. Not to mention, this movie has Friend Like Me, Prince Ali, Fabulous He, Ali Ababa. That's not the name of the song, but legally I've been told you have to say the whole thing. And of course, A Whole New World, which is the best couple song in all of the Disney movies. 5 out of 5. Ali Ababa. Animal friends, I mean, Abu is a bit of an ass sometimes, but you know, he's there when it counts. Also, I'm counting Carpet, he's a real one. 4 out of 5. Spiritual guide, I wish Robin Williams was my spiritual guide. 5 out of 5. Overall, this is an amazing movie. I know it's had its controversies over the years, but this is such a good story with amazing music, great characters. Like, did you know Robin Williams is in this? 5 out of 5. Also, one of my notes for this movie was, of all the animals they could have given Jafar, they gave him a parrot. They should have given him, like, Mewtwo or something. I don't know what that means, but I'm inclined to agree. That puts Aladdin at a 24 out of 25. And for those who love Jasmine, don't worry, so do I. She still has a place in the Disney canon as a prince, and honestly, she's one of the better princes. This girl is truly a ride or die. So in this one, Jafar returns. I'm gonna be honest, I don't have much to say about this one. Aladdin doesn't do all that much in this one outside of stopping Jafar, after he returns. But he's still a good guy, so 4 out of 5. Song, Aladdin didn't really have any songs, and anytime they did sing, I wanted them to stop. 0 out of 5. Animal friends, Carpet is great here, Abu is still an ass. 3 out of 5. The genie is not voiced by Robin Williams, but he's still a good character. He just doesn't do much. Also 3 out of 5. Overall, this movie is just no one really grew. Aladdin becomes the Sultan's vizier, but I also love how this movie looks like it was made in the 70s. The animation quality just plummeted. 2.5 out of 5. Total 12.5 out of 25. Literally a mid-film. Also, they should have called these movies He's Janir. I'm not the first to make that joke, I do not care. Aladdin and the King of Thieves is significantly better. It's the day of Aladdin's wedding, and while he's excited for his future with Jasmine, his past is still haunting him. He doesn't feel like he truly knows himself, and without a father figure in his life, he's never had a role model for how to start a family. That is actual solid inner turmoil right there. Their wedding is interrupted by the 40 thieves who are after a scepter. This magical scepter holds an oracle which can answer a single question. Aladdin doesn't really know what to ask until the oracle reveals that his father is still alive. He uses this question to find him, and she leads him to the cave of the 40 thieves where Aladdin learns the King of Thieves is his father. He invites him to his wedding, the one he previously interrupted, and it's a fun, happy little reunion, until his father betrays him and tries to steal the scepter again. He's imprisoned, but Aladdin can't live with knowing his father is imprisoned in the palace, so he frees him. He tries to get Aladdin to go with him, and Aladdin confronts him for running away from his family, saying he would never do that to Jasmine. But later on, Aladdin goes to save his father after learning he was in trouble. His father had used the scepter to find the hand of Midas, and things went south. Aladdin and his father go their separate ways, but he does attend his son's wedding. You know, Aladdin's kind of inspiring in this one. This is a really good plotline for him, and it doesn't regress his character to build him back up through the plot like a lot of other sequels do. He knows what he wants from his future, and he doesn't waver from that, but he can't help but wonder where he came from. You could definitely argue that he gave his dad too many chances, but it's more of like he couldn't live with himself knowing his father would die if he didn't step in, and I think that's fair. 5 out of 5. The songs are kind of but I do like the one with him and Jasmine, so 2.5 out of 5. Animal friends, I mean, what can I say? They're still buds. 4.5 out of 5. I do not count the parrot. Robin Williams is back to play the genie, and they really milk him dry. It became how many references can we fit into one movie? Still good friend, 3.5 out of 5. The movie overall isn't amazing, but it has a pretty decent plot. I admire that they try to tackle such a heavy topic in a direct-to-video sequel. It didn't hit every mark, but it's still good, 3 out of 5. Which puts King of Thieves at an 18 out of 25, and Aladdin's average at an 18.16 out of 25. Pocahontas. It's movies like this that make me certain that the cocaine trend from the 80s stayed strong well into the 90s. Firstly, I need to say that I am from Virginia, and I cannot tell you how big of a deal it was as a kid to have a Disney princess who was a legend from your home state, which is why the plot of this movie kills me inside. Pocahontas follows the mostly made-up story of the daughter of Chief Powhatan and her relationship with the English colonists who landed in Jamestown in 1607. Hashtag the first permanent English settlement in North America. Our 4th grade teacher made us repeat that every time she said Jamestown, so shout out Mrs. Robertson. She meets John Smith, an English colonist, and the two fall in love, and she teaches him about nature. Also, John Smith is apparently voiced by Mel Gibson. I still have not recovered from this knowledge. Pocahontas is engaged to be married to a man named Kocoum and is struggling to choose between her heart and her people. There's constant conflict between the Englishmen and the natives, which all comes to head when Kocoum attacks John Smith after seeing him with Pocahontas, and is subsequently shot by this guy who, I shit you not, is voiced by Christian Bale. This leads to the famous scene where Pocahontas throws herself over John Smith to save him from being executed by her father. This leads to both sides who are about to fight putting down their weapons, except for Ratcliffe, the colony leader, who then shoots at Chief Powhatan. John Smith jumps in front of him, taking the bullet. The wound is likely fatal, so he's taken back to England. He asks Pocahontas to come with him, but she says her place is with her people. Okay, Pocahontas is a great character, in my opinion. I think she makes a decent role model, a very strong person in general. I think it's interesting that she's like the first Disney princess with a human friend. Biggest complaint is just, really girl, him. I think it's great that she doesn't go with him at the end. That's really unique for a Disney princess at the time, but still, 4 out of 5. The I Want song, Just Around the River Bend, not so subtly sets up the theme of this movie. I mean, all the music is really good in this, like Colors of the Wind is an incredible song. I honestly think the only reason this movie is still as loved as it is because of the music. 5 out of 5. For the animal friends, I want to know why they chose a raccoon and a hummingbird. Virginia has other animals. Anyway, Miko is fun and I love him, and Squirt? Flit. The hummingbird, 3 out of 5. Spiritual guide, not gonna lie, sometimes I really wish I was the wise old willow from Pocahontas. She seems to have it all figured out, but I also would have told her to marry Kocoum, so 2.5 out of 5. Overall movie, the historical inaccuracies kill me. The story is basically a worse Romeo and Juliet, but the music and animation are amazing, and it's just a kind of a serene experience. I think that's really the best way to describe it. It's also interesting that this movie is much darker than what Disney typically takes on, like people are shot and killed. If anything, I think this movie made sure that people knew who Pocahontas was in more modern times. Obviously, she's a big part of American mythology, as I like to call it, but this movie made her legend and history more widespread. The history is wrong, but I don't know anyone who brings up this movie without saying, did you know Pocahontas was actually like 11 during all of this? Tricky legacy for what would have otherwise been a great movie. 3 out of 5. In total, Pocahontas is at a 17.5 out of 25. I really don't want to talk about the next one. The first time I watched this movie, I was staying home sick from school, and my parents would let me rent whatever I wanted on demand. Thank you, Mom and Dad. And I was scrolling through what Comcast On Demand had to offer, and I saw Pocahontas 2, A Journey to a New World. And I loved the Disney sequels as a kid, and this one did not come in my New Jersey Flea Market VHS haul, so I was very excited. But thank God I didn't watch it then. This would have killed me as a 3-year-old. The second Pocahontas, I guess, attempts to right the wrongs from the first in terms of historical inaccuracies. In real life, Pocahontas married a man named John Rolfe who brought a new strain of tobacco to the Jamestown colony, and it became a cash crop which made Virginia a more economically viable colony. Fun Jamestown fact. This movie explores that story, except the tobacco. Pocahontas goes to London with John Rolfe in order to broker peace between the settlers and her people after Ratcliffe made a deal with the king to send in an armada. Also worth noting, she thinks John Smith is dead. She goes, things happen, and she faces execution, but is saved by John Rolfe and, you guessed it, John Smith, this time voiced by Mel Gibson's brother. She's able to broker peace, and hooray. John Smith thinks they're going to go exploring the world together, but she rejects him and returns to Virginia with John Rolfe. Yeah, this movie low-key killed me inside. So as a role model, she's fine. It's similar to the first movie. I don't like some of the messaging in this movie, but that's a whole other deal. 3 out of 5. The song she has at the end is good, but again, I don't know about the messaging. The rest of the songs suck. 2 out of 5. Animal friends, they sure are there. I guess the bird does help find her in the dungeon, so 2.5 out of 5. The tree in my notes I just wrote, bitch, really? 1 out of 5. Overall movie, okay, this one is more historically accurate, but the bar was in hell. That messaging I mentioned, I did not like how they treated her Anglicization. That's a very controversial subject, and this was not the movie to handle it. It feels very romanticized, and this, which, her life story is so complicated, I just think they should have left it alone if they were gonna go this route. Also, I'm gonna be honest, at this point they fucked up the history so bad she should have just ended up with John Smith. He is so much better, even though they try to make him worse here. This is bullshit. The last note I wrote down while watching this movie was, Journey to a New World. Yeah, only if that new world was a garbage can. That was at 3 a.m. Anyway, 1.5 out of 5. Adding it up, that's a 10 out of 25, which brings her average to a 13.75 out of 25. So I really love the history of this time period, and I spent a lot of my childhood reading about it. I think Pocahontas is one of the most fascinating historical figures. When people speak about her, they tend to say things definitively like, oh, she did this or she did not do this. But unfortunately, there is a lot of speculation from historians on her life, so there isn't actually a lot of definitive information out there. I encourage you to read up on her history, it's so fascinating. But as you go throughout different sources, you'll quickly see how many opposing theories there are about her life. Also, you should visit Jamestown, it is so cool. Like when you go there.
Hey, so I'm watching this back while I'm editing, and in my script I had just written, talk about Jamestown. And oh boy, did I. I'm not gonna put you through this, just know that I spent a long time talking about why there's so many wells in the Jamestown colony.
Anyway. Mulan. Aladdin may be one of Disney's best movies, but Mulan will always be my favorite. Mulan is a girl in ancient China who is slightly unconventional and does not fit the gender role assigned to her. So basically she's declared unmarriable. When her father, who is older and not physically fit, is summoned to fight in the war, Mulan decides to take his place. With the help of her ancestral protector Mushu, she ends up saving all of China. I gotta say it, as a heroine, Mulan is the best out of all the Disney princesses. I remember when Frozen came out, and of course, even now people would say, they're princesses, but they rescue themselves, they don't need a man. Yeah, that's great, Mulan saved all of China. Mulan never needed to be rescued, she does the rescuing. It's not just saving all of China and high-key wiping out an entire army that makes her such a good role model. She's smart, she's brave, she's got a jawline that just won't quit, change in shapes. The whole message of this movie of finding who you are and how your strengths as an individual matter is so well conveyed. She shows so much growth throughout this movie. I love watching her go from a struggling mess to an absolute badass. Not to mention that what she did was incredibly brave. Honestly, I really struggle to rate her as a role model because I don't think she really compares to other princesses, in my opinion, backed by scientific authority. So I'm gonna do the mathematically impossible and give Mulan a 6 out of 5. We don't have a Congress, I can change the laws whenever I like. Reflection is the saddest I Want song, but it's so poignant. All of the songs in this movie are straight up bangers. If I'll Make a Man Out of You doesn't make you want to do a backflip, are you really experiencing that song? 5 out of 5. Animal Friends, so Cricky is great, truly one lucky bug, but I don't think anyone talks enough about Mulan's horse. This is a ride or die guy, okay? He went back for her in an avalanche. 5 out of 5. Spiritual guide, I mean, Mushu is a fun character. I love Eddie Murphy, who voices him. He weirdly works very well in this role. He's an incredibly selfish character, I'll say that much, but he's also the reason she was able to save all of China. 4 out of 5. Overall, Mulan is such a great movie. I love the story, I love the characters, I love the songs, but because I love it, I have to be harsh. I think the ending fight misses the mark. The movie spends a lot of time setting up how evil the villains are, and then when we end up facing them head on, we lose all of that. It's such a shame because this movie does such a good job at hitting these thematic moments. The scene in the beginning when she's watching her parents grieve over her dad being sent to war, and you see all of these emotional beats shift before she decides to go in his place, it makes me cry every time. The scene where she finds the doll in this destroyed village, no words are needed, we know exactly what has happened. This is all to say that this movie does a great job of handling complex emotions and mature topics within the confines of its G rating. And then we get to this. This is not RuPaul's Drag Race. There's no time for this shit. I know the point they were trying to make, but I feel like there's other ways to do this beyond having them disguise themselves as concubines.
Ugly concubines.
We don't need comedic notes here. There's plenty of time for that later on in the fight, which they do add without disrupting the narrative flow. I don't know, maybe I'm too harsh on this one. This is a near perfect movie, but I think there's a better way to do the ending. 4.5 out of 5. Which brings Mulan to a 24.5 out of 25. Mulan 2 is a treasure of a Disney direct-to-video sequel. It starts with Shang proposing to Mulan, and her family quickly realizes that they do not share the same opinions on most topics. The two are summoned by the Emperor for a very important mission TM, but before they leave, her parents give them their yin and yang necklaces and tell them to find harmony in their differences. Boy, I sense a theme coming on. But Mushu learns that if the two get married, then he will lose his now elevated status amongst Mulan's ancestors because she'll now be a part of Shang's house and her accolades won't matter to them. This leads to some high-key character assassination. The two are off on their mission with some familiar faces to escort the Emperor's 3 daughters to another kingdom so they can be married. Along the way, Mushu was doing everything in his power to break up Mulan and Shang, but meanwhile the princesses they're escorting start to fall in love with Ling, Po, and Yao. Everything escalates, and Mulan and Shang end up breaking up because of the fights Mushu caused. Mushu confesses to everything he's done, so Mulan goes to apologize to Shang, but before she can, the troop is ambushed. While fleeing over a bridge, the bandits cut it, causing Mulan and Shang to fall, and he sacrifices himself so Mulan can make it up. This is a moment that is honestly incredibly sad, but 2 minutes later, they reveal he's fine. I know he's not actually gonna die, but let me be sad for a little bit. Mulan, of course, doesn't know this, so she offers to marry one of the ruler's sons so the princesses don't have to. Shang makes it in time to break up their wedding, and Mushu grows a conscience, pretends to be the golden dragon of unity, and commands that Mulan and Shang get married. Mushu, of course, faces no consequences because Shang decides to combine his and Mulan's family temples, which means Mushu won't lose his job. Okay, Mulan in this movie. She's similar to how she is in the first one, but for thematic reasons, her main motivation is the duty to her heart, and they act like it has been the whole time. Which is not the message I got from the first one. This is what motivates her to advocate for the princesses and tell them to follow their hearts. I think Mulan would do this for other character reasons, like honoring your family by being who you are, but I digress. 3 out of 5. The music. Okay, the music is what sets this apart from every other Disney sequel. The 2 songs that they wrote for this are so good. The first is lesson number 1. This is the sort of I want song for the movie, which sets up the themes of yin and yang. Guys, They sing it in a round. It is so fucking good. 5 out of 5. I'm also giving points for the I Wanna Be Like Other Girls song that the princesses sing. This is adorable. Animal friends, unfortunately, our ride or die horse and Cricky could only do so much to stop Mushu's antics, but they really did try. Our boy isn't so lucky now. 3 out of 5. Spiritual guide, yeah, this man was the villain in this one. I've seen people say that they hate the characterization of Mulan and Shang's relationship in this, but they're honestly still very cute. It makes sense that they would be different from one another. They butt heads a lot in the first movie for this reason. This is all Mushu's fault. Eddie Murphy is like the only one that didn't come back for this movie, and honestly, fair. 0 out of 5. Overall movie, it's cheesy as hell, and the plot is kinda dumb, but it's a really good time. I mean, it's pretty much the original cast, so the voice acting is pretty good, and the new cast is stacked. They got Michelle Oh and Lucy Liu to voice 2 of the princesses. It's a cute movie, 3 out of 5. Bringing us to a 14 out of 25.
The Princess and the Frog.
A spin on the classic fairy tale inspired, but not at all based on a book called The Frog Princess that I was briefly obsessed with as a child. Tiana has been working her whole life to open a restaurant, which was her father's dream. She finally saves up enough money to buy the building she wanted, but is shot down at the 11th hour by another buyer. As if things couldn't get worse, there is a Prince Naveen visiting from his home country, and he gets caught up in an evil scheme by the Shadow Man, which turns him into a frog. Tiana kisses him, but because she isn't a princess, she turns into a frog too. The two journey across the bayou, learning what they were missing from life, and after some trials and tribulations, the two turn back into humans. Tiana, really hard worker, she's driven, has great principles, but I don't think she grew much in the story. She's supposed to be learning to take things easy for once, and that life is not all about work, but we don't really see that. There's a moment where she's content about just being a frog, which is nice, but it's not like she had a choice. When they turned back into humans, she was able to buy the restaurant, so she achieved her goal because of her hard work. And an alligator, but I don't think he's pertinent to the lesson. I just wish we saw more growth like we did with Naveen. 4 out of 5. Almost There is the I Want song, and it's great. I also used to sing Dig a Little Deeper all the time as a kid. 5 out of 5. Animal friends, Lewis and Ray, are very unique because they of course feel more human than the other animal friends. I don't know, they're all just buds in this movie. That's a lot of fun. It's hilarious that a lightning bug fell in love with a star, and I straight up cried when he died and turned into a star to be with her. Look, they're holding hands. 5 out of 5. Mama Ode is the spiritual guide, and again, I love Dig a Little Deeper, but I feel like it fell on deaf ears with Tiana. I know you can only lead a horse to water and all,
Or a frog to gumbo.
but maybe lay it out a bit more for our girl because I don't think she understood the message of her own movie. 4 out of 5, because otherwise, she's great. Overall, I love this movie. I love how distinct all the characters are. I think it has the most underappreciated Disney villain. I really can go on, and I will. I think it's fun that they use the reformed rake trope in this movie, and that was new for Disney. It makes Naveen a more unique prince and intertwines his and Tiana's stories really well. This movie also plays around a lot with light in its art style, which makes sense given its villain manipulates shadows. He's contrasted with Mama Ode and the other characters in a really fun way. My only complaint with this movie is that they should have focused a bit more on Tiana's growth. Let me know, maybe you disagree with me here and I'm missing something. I just think they're really doing a lot more telling than showing. 4.5 out of 5.
Oh, and of course, beyond this, I think the film put itself between a rock and a hard place by placing it in the Jim Crow era of the South. Not acknowledging that was a choice. It's hard to make representative children's media based in a historical setting when the people in the historical setting were inherently cruel to the people you're trying to represent. I don't have an answer for this, but this is why I think it's important to engage with the media you enjoyed as a kid when you're an adult, and if you have kids, to talk to them about the historical context of these movies. I don't think not making this movie would fix anything, but since we have it, it's good to talk about it.
Tangled. It's Rapunzel but longer. Rapunzel has magical hair that glows when she sings that also has magical healing properties, which led her to being Lindenberged by an evil woman named Gothel. Gothel locked her in a tower so she could use her magical hair to stay young forever. Every year on her birthday, her parents launch a bunch of floating lanterns in hopes that she'll return.
One day, a thief named Flynn Rider climbs into her castle to hide from the pursuing guards, and she blackmails him into taking her to see the lanterns. They go on a fun little adventure, fall in love. Gothel tries to trick her into coming back and succeeds, only for Rapunzel to realize that she was the lost princess all along. Gothel chains her up, Flynn comes to rescue her, is fucking shanked by Gothel, and when Rapunzel tries to heal him, he cuts off her hair. Gothel dies, Rapunzel's tears bring Flynn back to life, and they live happily ever after. Rapunzel is adorable, we all know that. She's quick thinking and kind, if not a little naive, but I find her strengths and flaws balance out. She's a great role model, and I think one of the more accessible Disney heroines in terms of personality. 5 out of 5. Songs, her I Want song is good. I just don't think the songs in this movie stand out much. I like them and I think they all fit or set the themes of the movie, but they aren't that poignant comparatively. Like, I Have a Dream is one of the catchiest songs I've ever heard in my life, but it doesn't, like, wow me. Although Mother Knows Best is a great villain song. 3.5 out of 5. Animal friends. Biggest question. Where did she find Pascal? I love this little guy, but like, how did a chameleon get into the tower? Anyway, the real hero of this story is Max. We've seen a lot of horses throughout these Disney movies, but none like him. I would watch an entire show of this horse solving crimes. I'm not even joking. 5 out of 5. Spiritual guide. She doesn't really have one unless you count the sons, which I don't. 0 out of 5. Overall movie, I mean, it's a great little adventure. I'm always here for an unlikely duo going through peril together. Flynn is a really good prince. Is it Eugene? Do I have to call him Eugene? I really don't want to. Flynn Rider is a really great prince, and I think it's badass when he cuts off Rapunzel's hair. Fun time, 5 out of 5. Putting Rapunzel at an 18.5 out of 25. Pixar's only Disney princess Merida is a Scottish princess who has to marry one of the sons of their allied clans, but she would rather, like, climb rocks and stuff. This is a major point of contention between Merida and her mother, who says she must marry for the sake of unity between their clans. After Merida wins her own hand in an archery contest, her and her mother get into a huge fight, which results in Merida ripping the tapestry of their family and her mother burning her bow. So Merida runs into the woods and finds a witch who gives her a spell to change her fate. The spell is carried in this little tart, which she gives to her mom, thus turning her into a bear. This spell can only be broken if they mend the bond that was broken, so they learn to communicate with each other. It's very heartwarming. And they fight an even bigger bear, bringing them closer together. I was very conflicted on how to rank Merida as a role model. She's very strong and shows a lot of emotional growth throughout the movie, but she did turn her mom into a bear. 3 out of 5. So Merida doesn't sing, but there are a few songs throughout the movie. The one at the beginning is called Touch the Sky, and it's basically an I Want song, so I'll count it. It's a good song and it fits the atmosphere, but it's not really a standout. 3.5 out of 5. She doesn't really have any animal friends besides Angus, but I don't know, man, something about this horse just gets me. 2.5 out of 5. Spiritual guide, I'm gonna count the wisp here. They do, in fact, guide her to her fate. They don't do much else, but they actually do a good job of getting her through this journey in really subtle ways, so 2.5 out of 5. Overall, not a perfect movie, but it's good. It's the only movie I've watched where a fight scene made me cry. I love the way her and her mother defend each other here. Like, no doubt they would, but it's a really powerful moment to cement their character arcs. There aren't any other Disney princess movies that focus on a mother-daughter relationship like this. There's a lot of evil stepmothers, but no normal mother-daughter fights, and they pull it off well. Other highlights, I like when her brothers turn into bears. They're so cute. It's cheap cute points, and it worked on me. Merida's hair, of course, is amazing. The strands of Merida's hair are animated individually, which allows it to move more naturally. All in all, really good emotional movie, even if it can be a bit silly at times. 4.5 out of 5. Putting Merida at a 16.5 out of 25. Moana returns us back to the long-standing tradition of naming movies after their heroes. Quickfire summary, Moana is the chief in training of her village, but feels a call from the ocean. Her father forbids anyone from traveling beyond the reef, but a blight has started to destroy their crops and reduce their fishing output. Her grandmother believes that she is the chosen one to bring the heart of Te Fiti, which has been stolen by the demigod Maui, back to its owner in order to restore their island. And she does! Moana is in that class of modern Disney heroines that try to avoid the tropes of the average princess, so the adventure is very much driven by her actions.
She's a great role model, and I appreciate that she goes beyond the chosen one trope, and this becomes a journey of self-discovery. Only she can do this mission, and I love watching her confidence grow as she realizes why that is. 5 out of 5. Songs, How Far I'll Go is one of the best modern Disney songs, and the other songs in this movie are pretty good too. Except for Shiny, like what the fuck was that? Luckily that doesn't count, so 5 out of 5. Animal Friends, Pua was useless, and I was gonna go harder on Hey Hey because honestly they should have just eaten him, but his affinity for eating the heart of Te Fiti does save the day. 3.5 out of 5. Spiritual Guide, it would be crazy for your spiritual guides in life to be both your grandma and the ocean. Talk about instilling confidence through compassion. 5 out of 5. Overall, this is a great movie. It's one of the more inspiring Disney princess movies, and I can tell a lot of love went into it. 5 out of 5. Added up, that puts Moana at a 23.5 out of 25. Moana 2, the most recent movie on our list, came out in 2024. In this one, Moana is now her village's wayfinder and has the respect of her entire community. She's essentially a living legacy. Her new call back to the sea is to unite her people with the other villages across the ocean, which have been divided because of a curse. She throws together a ragtag crew, finds Maui, and they sail off to break the curse. And they do. Moana in this one is the same. She's still awesome. A lot of sequels tend to be trapped by their own storytelling. In the first one, our character goes on a journey of self-discovery and growth, and now there's nowhere to go from there, so the sequel ends up regressing the character to help their narrative, which is very frustrating. Moana 2 does not do this. In fact, it even seems like she's done some growing up between these two movies. It feels like the writers really asked themselves, where can we go from here, and realized the answer was godhood, or demigodhood, and they went for it. I have a lot of respect for that. Moana has cemented her legacy amongst her village, and now she'll cement it across all of her people to ascend to a similar status as Maui. That may not be for everyone, and I get that. It's nice to have human characters who have more relatable struggles, but we see her growth and it feels earned. 5 out of 5. The I Want song Beyond is good. I think it establishes the theme of the movie well, and I also really liked Maui's song. But the songs in this movie really bugged me, and I couldn't really put my finger on why until I learned that the songs were written by the duo that wrote the Bridgerton musical, and this made me realize that the songs all sounded like they were meant for a Broadway musical. That's fine, but I think it stood out because it doesn't fit the movie very well. You may think that Disney makes musicals, so what's the difference? But modern Broadway songs are their own genre, and they have a lot of similarities that I really wish I could show in this video, but I'll get a copyright flag. The lyrics and the melodies in this movie feel limited. The only song that felt like it fit was Beyond, but even that had melodic choices that just... I call it the theater kid flair. It's not an insult, just listen to it and you'll know what I mean.
There are, of course, examples where Broadway-style music works really well in Disney movies, like the opening number in Beauty and the Beast. This song fits the tone of Beauty and the Beast really well, but would suck in Moana. Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote the songs in the first movie, and he of course is known for writing Broadway musicals, but I think he's a very unique lyricist and does a good job of capturing the tone of what he's writing to, which makes his songs sound different. I mean, among other aspects of his songs. Again, the songs aren't bad, I just think they're the wrong genre for Moana. 3 out of 5. Animal Friends, they're there, 2.5 out of 5. Spiritual Guide, kind of going back to the sequel issue, it doesn't feel like she needs one anymore. Her grandma and the ocean are there to help, but Maui kind of takes over the spiritual guide role, which I really liked. They're a team, but he was the one to push her to where she ends up at the end. 4 out of 5. Overall, I like this movie. It was originally meant to be a TV show, but I personally didn't feel like that disrupted the pacing too much. I think it would have been like a limited series with too much filler. This worked most of the time, although I will say there were points that I think we could have stayed in a bit longer to breathe. I really liked the third act. I spent the entire thing stressed, which is really hard to do for a kids movie where you know the main characters won't die. It was just a really good action sequence. Also, the animation in this movie is really good. I watched a lot of animated movies these past few months, so seeing the progression in technology and style has been really fascinating. I think we take some of these things for granted now, and people don't seem to appreciate 3D animation in the same way as 2D animation,
which I understand. I think 2D animation makes it easier to capture a certain charm and the styles of the artist, whereas 3D animation can seem generic, but there are just aspects to this movie that are incredible. And it takes a brave animation studio to say, yeah, let's make a movie that's entire plot takes place in water, because I cannot imagine how hard that must have been to make things feel natural, and I think they made it even better in the second movie. 4 out of 5. Putting Moana 2 at a 18.5 out of 25. The highest rated sequel, which may not be fair considering this was a main studio movie, but all's fair in love and Disney Princess ranking wars. Raya is the most recent addition to the Disney Princess lineup, and it seems like people basically shun her. This was the movie I knew the least amount going into this, and by least I mean I had never heard of this movie in my life. How do we get a new Disney princess and I just don't know who the hell she is? Is it because I'm an adult? Probably. Raya and the Last Dragon is about a dystopian world that fell because its 5 kingdoms, which were once united, are now fighting over the Dragon Gem. This gem holds the concentrated power of the last dragons and was used to destroy evil spirits called Droon, which petrify every living creature in their path. Raya's kingdom, Heart, possessed this gem, but after her father tried to unite the kingdoms once again, they were betrayed, which caused the gem to break, summoning the Droon once again. 6 years later, Raya is able to summon the dragon Sisu, who created the gem, and goes on her quest to retrieve the broken pieces and vanquish the Droon once and for all. Raya is an interesting protagonist. I liked her growth throughout the film and appreciate how much she's doing to right what she perceives as her misdoing, but she doesn't stand out a lot. She's a fun heroine, but that's it. I wish we had more. 4 out of 5. There are no songs. That is so rare for a Disney movie, and I hope it stays rare. 0 out of 5. Animal friends. Okay, I really like Tuk Tuk. This is such a fun mount. They could have easily gone with something more generic and didn't. I like this little armadillo roly-poly bug guy. And also, I love that he's called Tuk Tuk like he's a little rickshaw. 4 out of 5. Her spiritual guide, technically it's Sisu, who is played by Awkwafina. Never imagined Awkwafina in a kids movie, but you know, Eddie Murphy is also a weird choice for a kids movie, and he's in 2 iconic ones, so what do I know? Sisu is more of the foil to Raya, whose whole thing is that she has trust issues and Sisu is overly trusting. Sisu's existence is what opens Raya's mind, so 2.5 out of 5. After I watched this movie, I started to do more research into it and its production, etc., and I was surprised at how opinionated people were on it. In a way, it was nice going into this movie blind because I didn't have other people's opinions to bias my own. I was honestly shocked how many people just don't like this movie because I thought it was fine. I think it's cool that they invented this dystopian world with unique kingdoms, and I thought the main conflict was interesting. I really think this movie should have been a TV show, which is a rare feeling to have. There's so much lore dumped on us early on, and while we get a lot of visual world building, more time would have made the world richer. We get brief glimpses into each of the kingdoms, but it all made me want to know more. My other issue with this movie is that it's just not a Disney movie. This movie felt like a DreamWorks movie wearing the mask of a Disney movie. It's weirdly uncanny. The biggest complaint I saw is one that I partially agree with. One of the main themes in this movie is trust. When Raya's father tried to unite the kingdoms, he was betrayed, and this warped Raya's worldview. Meanwhile, Sisu is overly trusting, which constantly gets him into trouble and eventually gets her killed. But the moral doesn't really land because we aren't shown enough moments where Raya trusting someone benefits her. It's mostly when she doesn't trust people that things work out. So when the movie ultimately ends with what just feels like them screaming, "You have to believe in the power of trust," it just feels off. This is why I think this should have been a TV show. We don't sit long enough in the different kingdoms to see them as anything other than that, a kingdom, where it's really easy to generalize the people who live there as a collective. I think the movie relied on the team that's picked up along the way to be the personifications of their kingdoms, but when we put all of that into one person, it's still easy to be like, well, clearly the kingdom is evil, except for, of course, this guy. Also, I think the story would have been more effective if there was something actively turning them against one another, because right now it does really feel like everyone knows they share a common goal in not dying, and they just charge forward with bad ideas anyway. Like, what do they think the other kingdoms are going to do with the gemstones other than unite them? This has probably been discussed ad nauseum at this point because it's been out for 5 years and I'm just late to the party. Overall, I really liked the visuals and how unique the world felt, but I just wish there was more. 3.5 out of 5, which brings Raya to a 13.5 out of 25. Let's get on to the rankings. For our final ranking without the sequels, we have Mulan taking the first spot, with Aladdin close behind in second, and Moana in third. Is it bad that a man is in second for a princess ranking? No. But there are some shakeups once we start to consider the sequels. This disruption shoots our girl Tiana to the top of the list, followed by Moana, who jumps up a spot from third, and Mulan, who's brought down by Mushu's shitty behavior from the second movie. Here are the placements of all of our Disney princesses. And remember, these are now scientifically backed. You must make your own quantitative argument to trump this ranking. So says science. I mean, not really. This was just an excuse to call binging all of the Disney princess movies productive. You caught me. I wanted to do something fun and different for this video, and I thought it would be short and sweet, and then I watched 23 movies. This is very like me. I always start out with something simple, and then it turns into something where I learn that I have opinions that I didn't know that I had. Since you've stuck around this long, thank you. Please consider liking and subscribing. Those are really small actions you can take that help me out a lot. Of course, who is your favorite Disney princess? Are there any categories that I forgot that would have completely changed this ranking? Was there anything I got completely wrong? Probably. You know, if I was to add any Disney princess to the lineup, I would add Hercules. Yes, as a princess. I mean, he has a great I want song, good role model all around. Plus, Aladdin will get lonely as the only male in the lineup, so Disney, you should think about it. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.